Welcome, everyone. Surprised there's people here after our abysmal performance. Probably my 17 years of being a head coach, probably the worst game that I've been involved with. I mean, I can't remember a game like that where um, started off slow and just went downhill. We couldn't stop it, and so it just. I apologize. I'm the head coach, and so that's not the kind of team that I want to put out there. And so we're going to work our butts off to try to get that fixed. The task doesn't get any easier. We're going against the number one team in our conference. Really, really good football team. Coach Lewis has done a really good job. They really great bounce back year from last year. They tweaked some stuff, and so whatever he's done a really good job. Best defense in our conference. I think they're fourth in scoring defense. I saw a thing be out by ESPN as far as they kind of measure percentage of times that you get stops, and they're up there with Ohio State, uh, you know, as one of the best in the country. So they're a really, really good team. They run the football. They're physical, biggest O line that will play all year. So playing the best O line, really good running backs. Um, Trey White, one of their defensive ends, outside linebacker, probably the best pass rusher in the league. Got a really good corner, probably NFL corner. So you go from whatever it is. We played the worst team in our record wise. It was the bottom of our conference, and we get pummeled. Now we play the best team in our conference, and so it's a great challenge for us, and that's kind of the message for us as we try to get ready and um, get ready for San Diego State. So yeah, questions.
Coach Vic SB Nation. I say, we know there is a brotherhood in the family here, but at the same time, it's a serious environment with a lot of responsibilities. Can you maybe touch on maybe how difficult or emotional it was to, obviously let go of Coach Odom and Coach Palcic, and knowing that there's such a far and wide-reaching effect across the board?
Yeah, that was hard. I mean, being a head coach, there's a lot of things that um, I've learned to deal with, and things don't bother me. People yelling at you, or people saying stuff to you. I'm used to that. Just the criticism. Um, the losses are tough. Those things are tough, but probably the hardest things are stuff to deal with the people and having to let go guys that you love. Coach Odom. I mean, great man, great football coach. Coach Palcic, same thing. Phenomenal people and coaches, and it was hard. But I had to kind of look at our program and see where we're at and things where can we do some stuff to make some changes. And um, like I said, it was a sleepless weekend. First and foremost, because of the loss, just the fashion and we lost to it was unacceptable. I can't let that happen. Just it wasn't like it was a close game. We got blown out by the team record wise. Again, Coach Schroeder is a really good coach, and I still think they got really good players on their team. But the way that game unfolded, something had to happen, and so I made some tough choices. But those are hard. There's a lot of thinking going on in that, and but yeah, it was a tough team meeting. A lot of emotions in our team meeting as that came up. But yeah, those are hard. Those are really hard. Probably the hardest thing you have to do as a coach. But I also recognizing being the leader of our program, and you have to make those tough decisions, and they're not always easy. And so yeah, it was a tough day yesterday.
A couple of the striking things too with Walker and Jalen Pilot Williams after the game. They obviously took it upon themselves, but a quote they both made was, they feel they owe it to the University of OT because you guys chose them, and that actually all of us, and we, how does that comment sort of strike you in that sense?
Yeah, we have some great kids. So, like I had a ton of kids come yesterday, and a lot of them were emotional, obviously, with you know me letting go of Dio and Pausic, and they all loved him, and they just came, Coach, I'm sorry, and I feel like it was my fault. I feel like several of them came and said, I feel like this is my fault, and we wish that we could have done better for you guys. And I'm like, guys, we're old men. This is for you guys, but it's we have great character on our team. We have awesome young men, and I look at the opposite. I wish we would do better for them. I wish we played better, I coached better, and got our guys to win because they're awesome. And we came out today and worked. I just amazed by our guys. Just like so, we're 3-7. We just got pummeled, and our guys came out to work. And so, just I want the best for me. So my things as this weekend, like, how can I do that? What are some things I have to do? And like I said, having to make those tough changes to get some better results for people like the guys that you just talked about. They're just awesome young men, but those are just two of them. But just in our meeting today, I mean, there's a lot of hugging and crying, and just guys are just, and just their comments. Sometimes when that happens, when a beloved member of your staff or a beloved coach gets let go, I mean, um, you know, it's a little bit different in the room. Maybe there's a lot of derogatory remarks. It wasn't that way. It was more love for Coach Odom, love for Coach Palsik, wishing that they could do more for the results of our team so they could be here. But also, like you said, representing San Jose State, representing school. I mean, just overall, they wanted to do better. So, just like again, a testament to their character.
And last question for me, but in these last couple games, just simple things you need to see, want to see, or is it something to carry you in the off season? But or maybe some small things you might want to see.
Well, I mean, my number one, like I said, I've been saying it's like kind of a broken record. We got to take care of the ball. I mean, it was 5-1 last week, 5-0, and we had a kickoff return taken back for touchdowns. You get 5-4 turnovers and a, a kick taken back to us. That's normally the score. A lot to nothing, and so we just got to do a better job of taking care of the ball. Obviously, we're going to have to stop the run. This is how I look. I mean, this is a really good football team, and they're the best team in our league. I look at I was just telling our team, just the other two teams that are still fighting for it, that are number 2 in the league, are Hawaii and New Mexico. We beat both of those teams, but we just lost to two of the teams, Air Force and Nevada, that were on the bottom. So it's always like I've told our guys, our margin, we don't have a margin of error. I mean, everything's got to be on point, every detail. But we know that if we play the way we're capable of playing, we feel like we can beat anybody in our league. But obviously, if you don't play the way you're capable of playing and turn the ball over and have one taken back to the house in special teams, we can't beat anybody.
And then bringing Coach Filimoeatu into the position of defensive coordinator, just why was he the choice, and what does he impress you with during his tenure here?
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. Obviously, I never had any plans. I didn't have any backup plans. Like, okay, if I go deal, Bojay is going to be the guy. I mean, obviously, all of this stuff happened this weekend. But I've been in several of Coach Bojay's Filimoeatu's meetings. He's a phenomenal football coach. Really, really sharp. And inside linebacker coach, probably has the best feel for the defense besides the coordinator, because you work with the front end and back end. I mean, you're with the front seven and also the back end work. Obviously, a lot of times the secondary guys know the secondary stuff. D-line, the front guys normally know the front stuff. But he's a guy that probably knew Coach Odom's stuff the best as far as the overall front end and back end. So that was one reason. But like I said, the other one, I'd been in his meetings. You kind of look at Bojay. Here's this big, muscular guy. I mean, he's smart. I mean, he's a really, really smart football coach. And from day one, the first time I went into his meeting last year to now, I was like, wow, I can see, Coach Odom was the guy that recommended him coming. He's a phenomenal football coach.
And then getting prepared to face off against San Diego State, their defense has been very good. Just on that side of the ball, what do you think they've done so well, and what challenges did they present?
Super impressed with them on defense. They don't, I'm not saying they don't, do different things, but they don't try to trick people. They kind of line up. Their guys are well coached, and they beat the crap out of you. Just old school. Like, their kids know what they're doing. They're really well schooled in their assignments. Sometimes you play people and they try to do all these different things, try to trick you. And like I said, they do different things, but that's not the core of who they are. They're going to line up and beat the crap out of you. That's who they are. I mean, their secondary and their corners play physical. Really impressed watching them on tape.
And then at the end of the match against Reno, we saw Tama and Robert McDaniel come in at quarterback, and then now you obviously want to finish out the season strong, get the next 2 wins. But is there any thought coming for next year, trying to get some younger guys reps potentially, or are you just going out? Is that on your mind right now?
No, my thought is we're trying to win. You know what I mean? Just trying, not thinking about next year. Just my thoughts are just try to get this one. You know what I mean? It's just we're getting a chance to play the number one team in our conference, the team that our conference is pushing for the college football playoffs because of their ranking and kind of where they're at. They're kind of our last hope, so to speak, of a team from our conference, going to the college football playoffs. So to me, it's a great challenge. It's a great challenge for us to play against the best team in our conference, and that's the way we're pushing. We're not thinking about next year. We're trying to get this one.
How you doing, Coach? Nick Austin with Reality. I know there's only 2 games left, but what are your expectations for this defense now that Filimoeatu has kind of stepped in as interim?
Well, it'll be interesting because I thought we didn't play coming into last week's game. We were pretty good against the run. Our front seven's pretty good. Or our weakness has been on defense and been in the back end. We've given up a ton of explosive plays. And so we kind of think, we should play well against Nevada if they try to run the football. We didn't play as well. So the expectation this week is, because they're a running team and we know that they're going to, try to ram it down our throats, that we got to be able to stop the run. And so that's expectation, to be able to stop the run and, play our best on the edges. Last week it was raining against Boise. They barely threw the ball. Ran the ball 53 times and threw it 11 times. Watching the game, when I got home from last week's game and watched the game on TV live against Boise, it's like a service academy game. Nobody's throwing the ball. They ran the ball predominantly. So the expectation is stop the run. Don't give up any big plays in special teams, whether it's missing kicks or somebody taking back to the house. And offensively, execute. Take care of the football and execute the way we know we can execute. And we've done it against 2 other good defenses in Hawaii and New Mexico, but we sputtered the last 2 weeks, and that's been disappointing. To go from the extremes of playing against one of the best defenses in our conference in Hawaii and having 600 something yards, scoring 45 points, and then going against Air Force, who had been struggling this year, one of the better teams, and we played bad on offense, and then we played bad on offense again this past week. So the expectation is to play like I know we can play on offense, take care of the football, defensively find a way to stop their really potent running game, and be sound in special teams.
And you mentioned it earlier, but is there any thought to the players? You mentioned like they kind of some of them approached you and maybe said like, "Oh, I wish I would have played better," or stuff like that. Is there any thought to maybe them coming out with a little extra motivation or intensity, thinking that they might be the ones that caused this move to be made?
Yeah, you're hopeful, Nick. You continue to do all these mind games as a coach, try to different things to try to motivate your players. And every day, or a lot of days, we have team meetings and different things. So you're trying to do anything and everything to motivate guys. Get after them, love them up. Kick them in the butt, pat them on the butt. Not literally, but figuratively, I'm talking about. And you just do everything you can to try to continue to motivate. And the hard part about all of it, as bad as we played, obviously the last 2 weeks, just trying to remember, it's kind of crazy. Like I said, we're 3 plays away from being 6-4. You know what I mean? But we're not. We're 3-7, and we got to find a way to somehow muster up not the last 2 weeks of San Jose State, the Hawaii week. So, so you look at everything. But your question is a great question, because that's what I'm trying to look for. All those coaches, how do we motivate? How do we get to finish up here where we can finish strong against a really good San Diego State team, and kind of not look to the future, not look to that game, kind of as they're talking about. But we'll see.
Niles Hall with the Spear. What problems did you see in the special teams that led to that decision?
I just look at the results. And I hate, like I said, it's hard to say because you love the guy, but yeah, we struggled on special teams all year. You know what I mean? Now, so I don't want to dig up dirt on a guy that I love and coach, but just look at some of the stuff that's happened on special teams. That's unacceptable. You know what I mean? So, I mean, we just got one last week taken back to the house. I mean, that can't happen. And unfortunately, there's been too much of that this year. You know what I mean? And yeah, special teams cost us in some games, which, like I said, yeah. But
And then post game, you said the offense lost its confidence at some points in last week's game. How do you plan to give them that motivation and to bounce back this week?
yeah, the only thing is go back to work. You know what I mean? We go back and look at the film, see what happened, why it happened, what were we thinking for every player. I'm talking about Walker, but that's all the positions. Like, okay, why'd you do that? Or is that you're supposed to do this? How come you went that way or whatever? So you go back and look at the film and try to coach things up. And as a staff, you try to get the best game plan you can after watching tape, and you just come on, just continue to keep preparing. You know what I mean? It's like one of the motivations I use is our two cooks that are outside. I mean, the guy Raul that makes breakfast and Francisco that makes lunch. Every day those guys come to work and they love their job. They don't take days off. It's not like, it's Tuesday, let me give them cold eggs, or no, let me not cook as well as I need to cook. I've been impressed, and that's been my message to those guys. Like, the circumstances or what's going around you doesn't affect how they come to work. It's raining. You know what? I'm gonna not work so hard today, or I'm tired, or woe's me, we lost. So just taking that approach, I just keep grinding. It's a skill you're gonna have to have in life. Things don't always go your way. Not everything's a happy ending, and it's a fairy tale ending or Disney book type of ending. A lot of times in life, there are bad things that happen, and you just got to keep fighting. And I told these guys today, like, really, if there's any skill as a head coach that I hope I can instill in my players, is that one. Hope they can tackle, hope they can catch a ball or whatever, get stronger, learn how to take care of the body. That's all great skills. But if there's any skill that I hope they can learn, is that just the ability to have some grit and some resolve to just stay the course in life. And I'm hoping that we can continue to do that. But it's hard. It's not easy. You lose like that. We're all looking at each other in the locker room after the game, like, what the heck just happened? On the plane, same thing on the bus. And you got to take some, deep introspective about yourself and see what's going on. And we just got to continue to keep fighting. That's the message. It's not a very complicated one. Just stay the course.
Hey, Coach, Hattie Barghouti, Spears Bar and Daily. And what have you kind of like from the offensive line? They got it off to a pretty hot start, like start of the season, and kind of maybe slowed down these last couple of games. But what have you just seen from them, and how do you want them to just end off the season?
They need to play better. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, a lot of things gone to Walker. He's got to play better, but we haven't played very well the last two games. We played way better against Hawaii. For whatever reason, we're losing Nate didn't help. Nate Hill, because then we kind of had to move people around. So maybe a guy's in a position that's not his most comfortable position. But guys just are, like I said, our kids are great. They just go where we move them to because of injuries. But we have not played well. We didn't play well versus Air Force up front. They got pressure with 4. And last week, a lot of the game, especially early on in the game, they got pressure with 3. And for us, that's unacceptable. I mean, a lot of times we're in 6-man protection. And so you can't, the quarterback's got to be able to stay on the spot, if you're rushing 3 guys. And so they know that. The O-line knows that. Like, Walker, everybody sees Walker because he has the ball. And if he throws an interception and this or that or a touchdown, good or bad, a lot of times people don't see the line. But we definitely got to play better up front to be successful this week. Kind of, the next question, expectations. Expectations for the O-line to play better.
Hey, Coach. Regarding the coaching changes this weekend, can you talk a little bit more about what went into your mind, kind of the timeline of when you knew you were going to make those changes?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say that yeah, there's a lot that went into it. You know what I mean, and just um, obviously the way we lost and different things, and I have people I have to answer to too, and sometimes people ask, like, we meet and like, what's going on and how do you fix it? So there's probably a collaboration of it. You know what I mean? But and so I'll just say that it was a collaboration with some, my boss, but I won't just put it on him either. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, my boss told me I had to do this. We had a discussion on, you know, after the game, got a message that he wanted to meet on Monday, and I I totally get it. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, well, what are we meeting about? I knew what the meeting is about. We're 3-7, just got pummeled 55-10. So I knew there'd be some tough discussions in that meeting. So I prepared, over the weekend to see kind of what we met. But I knew. I've been in this profession a long time, and I mean, I knew as soon as I got the message that you know some questions need to be answered, and there's going to be some hard choices that were demanded. But like I said, it's not like I could argue with it. You know what I mean? It's like we're 3-7, and we just lost 55-10 to a team that was 1-8. So
Okay, thank you. And as long as you've been coaching, you do say this was a uniquely hard loss for you. Mentality wise, what's going on in your head that's different than other losses? And and another thing you said, you want to take a page from Nevada's book after losing against Utah State the week before. How do you think they did that?
their game plan was really simple. You know what I mean? You could see they dropped everybody and tried to keep the ball in front. They played coverage, which a lot of people have done to us. That's not, anything is, revolutionary. So you give them credit. And on offense, I could see very on they broke the huddle with 15 seconds and they stopped the ball with less than 5. That's what I did for years at the Naval Academy. When you got to pull an offense, you try to keep the ball away from them. And if you got a passing team, just try to play coverage and make them throw it underneath. So they started off first and foremost, they had a good plan. Really simple. So we try to steal a plan from them and just like, okay, have a plan that our kids can execute first and foremost and just kind of go play. Um, but yeah, it's you got to give them credit, for what they did. The reason why the game was so difficult is like we fought for so many games. You know what I mean? For a majority of games, we fought. It was mind boggling to me because I didn't recognize our team. You know what I mean? It's like, who is that team out there? What are we doing? You know what I mean? Just like you see so many games that we're in it and we're fighting and we're playing. Just that was the like for me as a head coach, like what am I missing? What do we got to do to get this fixed? That wasn't a team that I recognized. So that was game 10, and it was a team that I didn't recognize. And so we got to get back. We got to get back, and some hard decisions had to be made, which were tough decisions and heart wrenching decisions. But our team can't look like that. I mean, I'm the head coach, and our team cannot look like the product that we put on the field against Nevada. That can't happen again. I guess that was my mindset after, like, whatever the heck happened, I can't let that happen again. That was my mindset.
Vicky Kano, SB
Mhm.
Nation. Hearing Walker after the game, actually after every loss, he obviously takes it on himself, and probably as he should. But specifically in the game, I mean, it looked like maybe he was forcing things, and obviously trying to run and really trying to make things happen. And what was kind of your answer to that, or what were the adjustments you're trying to do against Nevada?
Yeah, I think we knew going into the game that they were going to play coverage. I mean, I don't think it's a secret going into that game. We knew what they were going to do, and maybe he talking about Walker. Maybe he was playing a little bit too cautious. Maybe he wanted to get the ball out quick. Maybe he felt a little nicked up, or just wanted to just kind of manage it that way. But just we got to get on the same page and just understand, like, hey, listen, we're going to get these type of coverages. We're going to have our opportunities. We just got to hit them, when it presents itself. And I think as the game went on, I think Nevada started to see like, wow, these guys are a lot faster than we think. Even though people think and know going into the game that we're fast, the coverage on the back end, specifically some of the safeties and maybe the corners, they were a little late to get out. And so we were trying to go ahead and take advantage of that. And, we missed those opportunities. And by the middle of the second quarter, I think, those guys on the other side figured like, gosh, man, these guys, they do push the ball down the field. But at the same time, too, though, we have all these different answers with the check downs and we got some stuff built into it. But, it just sometimes just maybe you don't see the game the way that you need to see it, from a quarterback's or a player's perspective. But ultimately, it's my job to make sure that he feels comfortable and he understands what's going on, and with the tablets on the sideline and get him back in the rhythm. So that's something that we're definitely working on this week.
Yeah, and obviously, the Aztecs #1 defense in the conference, and they've obviously seen probably what Air Force and Nevada's done, but with just 3 or 4 man fronts and whatnot. But just the thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because they are #1 in the conference in like almost every defensive category, and they do what they do really, really well. So, do they go ahead and just say, hey, we're just better than these guys and we're going to play our defense, our brand of defense, and, whether it's pressures or whether it's dropping some coverage, because they have a variety of different things that they do, and they do it really, really well, and they have experienced players to execute the plan. For us, it's a matter of just seeing what they're going to do, and are they going to play coverage? Are they going to be aggressive? Are they going to rely on their front, whatever, 5 or 6 guys are, they're very active, and they play extremely well, and they do defend every blade on the field very, very well, and they make you play left-handed. So, with that said, it's just one of those things. But I say it time and time again, our offense is built to counter whatever it sees. We just got to go ahead and continue to execute, the fundamentals, and just do what we're coached to do, and just play hard. It's a simple game when it's all said and done. But at the same time, too, though, we got to make sure that our guys are motivated to go play, and what an opportunity to go play against one of the top defenses in the country and showcase your ability in the last game and a half or 2 games that we have left. You couldn't ask for 2 better teams to play against. It's rivals of the school. It's in-state rivals. It's the guys that you want to play against, and that's the guys that you want to play the best against. So it's exciting for us.
Awesome. And speaking of just motivation, and obviously what happened this week or yesterday, your thoughts or the emotions and feelings of pressure or motivation or both, and just all that combined going into these last 2 games.
Yeah, it's always tough. You get into the business knowing that it's a cutthroat business and it's production based. And I've known Dio from before. Years ago, I got to meet him when I was a GA at the University of Hawaii, and he was a defensive back coach at SMU. Got to spend time with him, and in the last 2 years, really get to, whether it's going golfing with him or just hanging out or just kind of spitballing ideas. It's always tough because you built these friendships and these bonds where you're family, because you have to have his back. He has our back, and you build this trust in this family. And when something like this happens, it really, puts into perspective, what's at stake. And you're not just playing for, your team, but you're playing for your family. And and there's a sense of pride that comes along with that. So we're definitely going to miss Dio. It's just weird walking the hall, not seeing him smile and doing his antics. But we're going to go out there and play the best that we can, and hopefully it puts a smile on his face on Saturday night.
And then with the offense not playing up to the standard that it set earlier the past 2 weeks against Air Force and Nevada, but then you face, and now you're going against the #1 defense in the conference, but also you take a look at the teams that you guys beat. Like, you beat Hawaii, but then the Hawaii beat San Diego State. So does that kind of give a little confidence heading into this week that, if you guys play up to the level, you have a chance to compete with anyone?
Well, I sure hope so, because like you said, we play against New Mexico, great, Hawaii, great, and really, up until the last probably 2 games, obviously early on, the Central Michigan and Texas was a whole nother thing. But, I just one of those things where I think I said last week that you don't have professional athletes, and more so than any time I've ever coached, it's about motivating these guys and keeping them on task, because with what you have in your hand, right, your phones and computers, there's so much information out there. There's so much people that's trying to connect with you to maybe give you information that's not quite true. That's not real. So it's about focusing back in on what we do. What we do. It's not about what other people's suggestions are, recommendations are. Whether it's your receiver guru or your quarterback guru, your offensive line guru, like that's great in the off season. But right now, we're more than capable offensively to do what we can do to win this football game. We've shown it, multiple times throughout the season. So it's just a matter of just getting back to practice and continue to trust the process. And when it comes Saturday and it's time to play, you got to play your best. It's not about practicing your best. We practice and we practice hard. And these guys, our guys, we practice hard. But now when it comes to Saturday, you cut it loose. And I think sometimes there's some moments in the games where they got to understand, like, it's not being reckless, but it's being confident. Shoot your shot. Go ahead and make a play. Because that's how San Diego State lost to Hawaii. That's how, we beat New Mexico. That's how we beat Hawaii. It's because we shot our shot. And we went to go play inspirational football, and we went to go make plays rather than, I hope this works out. No, that's not the way that we play, and that's not the way you live life. You go and make things happen, and you trust in your abilities, and you go play and you fight hard.
And then you mentioned that the offense team with the built-in checkdowns too. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're facing teams dropping in the coverage, do you feel like the offense wasn't finding those checkdowns well enough against the Nevada last week?
Yeah, I think there are some things where we could have taken advantage of, get the ball out here and there. They did a great job of playing and keeping a lid on things, and then driving and tackling. I thought that in the perimeter we were not very precise on some things, so that was a message this morning to the receivers and the tight ends to, the difference between this offense and maybe some other passing offenses is the level of detail in which we coach and how we execute things. And it looked like it just kind of got a little bit, it wasn't quite to the standard what we needed to be. And by no means was it their fault. It's everybody's. It's my fault for allowing that to happen, whether it's in practice or in the game. So I got to get that cleaned up, and I will. And it's about the quarterbacks being able to not stay on things that's not open and be late to other things. And I think when you talk about getting the ball out quick and taking those kind of intermediate routes or those checkdowns, there's only so long those things are going to be open. So when your eyes are here and it tells you that's not good, get off it. Get to this one and trust it. And I think that was a big point of emphasis in meetings today and in practice today. And I thought we did a much better job getting back on track.
How you doing, Coach? Nick Oswasiality. You mentioned San Diego State's defense, but more specifically their corner, Chris Johnson.
Yeah.
One of the best in the country. How do you plan to, or what challenges does he bring? How do you plan to attack maybe him or stay away from him, whatever?
Yeah, he's fast. He's athletic. He's experienced. That's three things that you check off that equals a really good player. I think he's a guy that probably will have a chance to play on Sundays. And for us, we got to be smart, but not afraid, like I said, to go make plays. If we're calling certain things because we see it and we want to take advantage of it and we want to attack him, we're going to go ahead and attack him. If he's playing certain ways or he's taking certain things away, or the defense coordinator is doing certain things to help him out or play different leverages on our receivers, we got to be smart enough to get off of those things. But like I said, we go ahead and we play some of these other teams where I think some teams shy away from the strengths of the defense. Sometimes the strength of a defense can also be its crutch. It could also be a source of weakness. I'm not saying Chris is a source of weakness, but that defense is really good, but they're not the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, and we can't treat them that way. Because if we do, what's the point of going down there and playing them? You know what I mean? So we got to have a chip on our shoulder, and we got to say the same thing too. Like, hey, we got a pretty good receiving core. Those guys are really good. One guy still leads the country. You know what I mean? We got a really good quarterback, and just got to get him back on track. And offensive line wise and running back wise, we just got to get back to where we were a couple of weeks ago and just dominate the box. And if we can do that, I think we're going to like our results on Saturday night.
What you see from Tama and Robert McDaniel, and is there ongoing quarterback 2 battle?
From Tama, I saw confidence. I saw the ability to extend plays, things that we've known. Where he was this past game versus the Wyoming game when he came in was like two completely different players. This one was really confident. He had clear eyes. He didn't force bad things to happen. He didn't force scrambles. He let the game and himself merge into one, and he was able to feel it, and sense what he was able to do. So really, really pleased with how he played and the confidence and the boost that he gave us towards the end of the game. Robbie, super talented, but you could also tell, it's his first time getting in the game and playing. Had some jitters, but gosh, there was one ball that he dirted. He comes back and he throws a strike to Danny. You know what I mean? And then a couple plays later, he makes a bonehead decision and throws a pick. But he's super talented and he cares a lot. And both guys care a lot. They're different types of players, and I think there's always going to be a battle. Unless a guy is up for the Heisman, there's a battle. So yes, there's definitely a battle for number 2.
And then you talked about getting Walker back on track. How are you doing that? Like, how's that process to getting him back on track for this week?
Yeah, I think part of that is recentering his mind to remembering about getting rid of the pens that don't matter in your jar. Like, clear out the things that don't matter. I think maybe some things, got into his psyche a little bit, just in terms of, it's your senior year. You got a couple games left, and I want to get to a bowl game, and I want to be able to do this, and I want to be able to do that, and maybe different things going on outside of football. My job is to make sure that we clear the mechanism, all the things that's not involved with football, and recenter his mind to football and being the best quarterback that he can be at San Jose State. And when he does that, he's a really good player. So that's part of it. And then the other thing too is to just get his mind back into the sequencing of the offense. I think, like I said, going into that Nevada game, maybe he was trying to force some things to happen. Ultimately, I got to make sure that doesn't happen, and that's what I'm getting corrected this week for sure.
Hey, Coach. Hattie Barghouti, Spirit Spartan Daily. And we talked about the receiving core last week of Matthew Coleman, Cooper Hosch. But also Thule, he tied a season high with 3 receptions. What did you see from him? And do you kind of see maybe more production for him ending off with these last 2 games?
Yeah, I see toughness. I see a willingness to go out there and do what he's got to do to help win football games. I see selflessness in practice, and I see a guy that's willing to do what it takes to help the team win. He's always meeting extra. He's always when you walk the building, or as coaches, you're in the building as long as you are, you notice everything. You notice what guys leave early. You notice what guys stay late. You notice what guys come in early, and you notice what guys really care, who care when things are on the line, whether it's in practice, if a errant ball is thrown. You can tell the guys that are like, dang, I should have caught that, or guys that are like, man, just should be a better pass. Tule's one of those guys that if he drops a ball or the ball's not the best, he takes accountability. And when you're trying to win football games and build a program on toughness, those things matter. So I'm really, really pleased with how Thule fought back, because in the middle of the season, I think he kind of tapered off. He's able to do the extra work and meet extra with my brother, learn the plays again and relearn them, and really put back in the effort. And it showed. We played him, and we can count on him.
Coach Vic Aquino, SB Nation. You might not remember, back in 2024 spring game, we spoke, and you had mentioned your first impression of Coach Ken was obviously a nice guy, genuine, had very high expectations.
Yes, sir.
And then you come to today, and how does that kind of play out in your head and being under his tutelage?
Yeah, I mean, my feelings don't change. He's still one of the greatest men I've ever been under. Look to him as a father figure. He's going to always tell you the truth. And that's what's great about Coach Ken. He won't shy away from the truth. That's what everybody has to go through to understand what lies ahead of you. But I still look at Coach Ken as everything that he is back then until now.
Yeah. And obviously with Coach Odom, even Coach Palcic leaving, and back in 2017, you were here when he was here.
Yes, sir.
kind of the same question. I mean, with under his tutelage, like what have you progressed in trajectory towards?
Uh, Odom, Coach Odom, yeah, he taught me a lot. I think, I was with him back in the day at Oregon State in 2016. I was very fortunate to come with him over here. He brought me with Coach Brennan, and I was able to learn from him. He's taught me a lot. He's taught me not just in football, but just in life in general. I'll always be grateful for Coach Odom. It's part of our profession. We all know that, and I wish him everything and wish him the best of luck. And I know he's going to be all right. But I'm very grateful for all the things that he has given me in this football world, as well as the friendship that we have built over these years. And I wish him best of luck.
And I could remember, I think there's a couple players back when you first started here that kind of, I think, put you on the map. You had Frank Ginda,
Yes, sir.
Ethan Aguayo, and now you have Jordan Pollard. And kind of what is your, like, I guess, coaching philosophy, values, secret sauce, all that?
Just great players make great coaches. That's the biggest deal. Recruiting takes a big part of that. But it's up to the individual to learn the defense and go from there. So I was very fortunate to have great players in my room to set the tone. And they grasp my coaching and hopefully my teaching as well. For the past years here, the 2 years, I was very fortunate to have Jordan Pollard for 2, JC for 1, and then Noah Franklin stepping up. And then under them, Dylan Lee and Nas Danielson. So recruiting has been a big tool in recruiting the inside linebacker world. And so I look forward to seeing what we do in the spring.
Aaron Johnson with the Mercury News, and I know it was under tough circumstances, but what was your reaction to finding out that you're going to be getting the interim defensive coordinator job?
It was a brief moment where you find out the news of a dear friend, a brother, and it hurts deeply. But it's a part of this profession. You got to flip the script and you got to get your mind right. I'm grateful for Coach Ken and this opportunity that he has given me and this defensive staff. And we're going to keep doing what we've been doing and try to fight. We're going to fight every down. And I'm just excited to see and build this week brick by brick. So Saturday we put a good showing out.
And then schematically, are you going to do similar stuff to what Odom did, or do you have any plans to switch things up?
Yeah, I think it's part of the whole deal right now. I want them to play fast. I want to play simple, and I want to see our blue line effort that we do on defense that Coach Odom has instilled here. I want to see it on Saturday.
And then what have you seen from Jordan Pollard and Noah McNeil Franklin, their progression throughout the season to becoming?
Yeah, it's been a up and down road. I think for the last couple weeks before the Nevada, those guys were playing really well together. Understanding fits and all that, and making the calls and inside the box, and it's progressed in the right way. I think Nevada we took a little step back, but that's what's great about football, especially with 2 games left. We get to improve, and we get to go against a good running offense.
How you doing, Coach? Nick Austin with Ziality.
Nice to meet you, Nick.
Coach Ken mentioned choosing you as interim. You kind of have to have knowledge of all 3 levels of the defense. But what is there anything different that in your mind that changes now that you're the interim DC and not just the inside linebackers coach?
Yeah, of course. I have to see the world from the back end forward now instead of the 7 guys in the box. So it's just expanding my eyes in the whole defense. I got to see what everybody's trying to do and get the fits right. But I trust these coaches. That's what they're here for. We have a lot of guys stepping up right now. And I'm proud of this defensive staff and these players. No one's shying away from it. Everybody's getting into the work. It's all about the work. And today, what I saw at practice, I was excited to see those guys work.
And these final 2 games, obviously you have San Diego State, best record in the Mountain West, and you also have Fresno State, big rivalry game.
Yes, sir.
What is the mindset that you're trying to instill to the defense for these final 2 games?
I just want to see the grit. I want to see the fight. This defense has shown that we can be a stout front. We've shown that we can play good defense. The biggest thing, I just want to see the effort. I want to see the guys play physical in the box. I want to see those guys understand their concepts, but the biggest thing is just I want to see all 11 hats to the ball. That's what I'm most excited about.
Hey, Coach Niles Hall with the Spear. What type of leader are you? I know you played linebacker, and then you're now coaching linebackers. How would you describe your leadership?
I would like to say my actions, but I'm a pretty loud guy, and I think my voice carries enough. Sometimes my backers get bored of it, but I'm going to challenge them. That's the biggest thing, and my leadership is going to be based off. I want to see the action first. I want to see them blue line to the ball, and I'll be vocal out there, but I'm going to lean on these players. The teams that have been great, that I've been a part of as a player and as a coach, it was player led, and I want to see these guys step up. And coach fed is never great. So if your players can take over and be those leaders that they are, you'll have a good team.
I know it's a quick turnaround, but what have you seen from San Diego State?
They're a good team. I was there with them for about a month and a half with Sean Lewis and them before coming here. I know the O-line coach. I know Sean's going to have a good scheme. They're a good disciplined team. They run the ball, and it's going to be up to us to stop it.
Hey, Coach, Hattie Bargudi Spear, Spartan Daily, and how excited are you to work with guys in the secondary like Jalen Bader, Jalen Pollitt Williams, and they lead the team in picks right now in those takeaways. How excited are you to work with guys like that?
Yeah, I'm excited to see more step in my eyes and everything backwards so I can see them do how they've been doing all year. I want to see them focus on the little details. I'm excited to see them take on the challenge of San Diego State. I think having seen it from what I saw today, I'm excited. I'm more excited to see them play tomorrow's practice than the game. I want to see the progression of it, and they've been doing great so far.
And then what's your message to just your whole defensive group of playing winning football? What's one kind of just message that you would say to them just for playing that winning football mentality?
I don't think things change. I think football is all about doing your 111. It's a beautiful picture when everybody does their 111 to make a perfect play perfect. We can always correct our mistakes with effort, but if everybody just does their job and play with great effort, you'll be spot on what we want to see, that brand of football.